Welcome to John Talks. What kind of cinema? Indian cinema. And I am your host, the Indian Cine-MANIAC, back with another 15 to 20ish minute review of a film that I have been dying to see. And I actually wanted to go see it in the movie theater, but it never came to the theater. And I've been getting pretty beat up about it. And it was recommended by a longtime maniac and someone who likes to rib me all the time, always ribbing me about the way I pronounce things, about why don't I get to movies fast enough. But in fairness to, oh, by the way, it's recommended by L Koshi 807, as if you guys didn't know based on my description. But he actually sent me a note the other night and said, why haven't I seen this film yet? And I said, because it's not playing here. Like I've said a million times, if it's not playing here, I can't see it. And at the time, it wasn't streaming. And he said it was streaming. Now, I have an app that I use that tells me where a film is playing, whether it's in a theater or whether it's streaming. And this showed that it wasn't streaming anywhere. But based on what El Koshi said, I said, what the heck? I'll check out all my streaming channels and see if it's playing anywhere. And it was playing on Hulu. So I was able to watch it last night. And the film that I am going to review is apparently the smash hit Lokah Chapter 1 Chandra, a Malayalam film. It's directed by Dominic Arun or Arun. The cast is Kalyani Priyadarshan, who was in Krish 3. Naslen, who I saw in Premlu, and I really like Premlu. Tovino Thomas, who is in L2 Emperon, Manal Murali, and Lucifer. And Arun Kuriran, who is in Manjamal Boys, which a film I really, really liked. Um, and there was a ton of cameos in this, and I have to be honest, I'm checking something because I want to make sure that the one guy the bad guy in this was really good. Yeah, Tovino Thomas. I'm a little confused because they've got the bad guy's name was Nachiyapa, and he was the inspector, but it says that was played by Sandy Master, but he wasn't. He was played by Tovino, and he was a good bad guy too. Um, so this film is a not a vampire film. It's a what was it? Yakshi, I think that's what they called the character. Yakshi. Yeah. So um from what I read, this was a very different kind of film for a Malayalam audience. And obviously, Malayalam movies I find very grounded. They're much more realistic than a lot of the Bollywood stuff. Like there's no musical numbers. There's music in it, a lot of music, a lot of incidental music that plays throughout, which I'm not crazy about. But they don't break away for extraneous musical numbers, which I appreciate. But this was definitely, it's funny because I just reviewed Thama, and it had a lot of Thama in it, but I found Thama, which I liked, a little cartoonish. If that's the right word? Not, I'm not saying that in a bad way either. Everything was over the top, the action, some of the characterizations. Um, and this one had those moments, but like I said, it was a much more grounded type of film. So let's talk about the story. The story is about a young girl. Well, she's really not young. Chandra, who at the beginning of the film. Now, I'm going to tell you up front that I really like this film. I didn't like everything about it. There were things in it that made no sense to me. Like they've got this amazing opening scene where, wait, let me see how they opened it. Yeah, they open it with this thing that says all legends have an element of truth. That's the title card, right? Then they go to this scene where it's this giant house on fire, flames everywhere. And again, this I just watched a movie where they did this. I think it was the call in OG. There was fire everywhere, and in this film, there was fire everywhere. The opening scene is she's behind the table, something
വെച്ച്
an
and then you
assassin
pressure
comes in
on.
to try to kill
മൂപ്പര്
him
പറയും
while the flames are going. And she ends up jumping out a window to
നിനക്കൊരു
escape.
മാറ്റമില്ലല്ലോ
And then it
പെണ്ണേ.
goes into this animated opening credits. Now, what bothered me about the scene was you never come back to it. Like, there was no explanation of what that was, who the person was that was after her. Nothing. They just go right into the film. I didn't understand that. So the story is she roams the world, and she's a vampire, a yakshi. Um, and every 20 years she goes to a different place, but she only goes after bad people. Now, the story is about two groups of people: her people, people like her, and people who support her. Very Marvel universe. In fact, she wears this red sash that when she runs and leaps, it forms a cape. So this definitely had kind of a superhero vibe to it, even though she's a vampire. Well, the parallel story is about three guys, three friends who live in a place, and one of them, Sonny, and he ends up being a protagonist with Chandra, and how they meet and form a relationship. And as the opening of the movie, you know something's off with her. You don't know what it is because the opening doesn't tell you that. But then you figure out what's going on to the point where she saves his life, Sonny's, and at one point, and this was definitely a woman empowerment thing, that the beginning where she was saving people, it was always a woman being abused by a guy. That's when she would turn into the beast or whatever you want to call it. In fact, there's one scene where this cop is, oh my god, I'm drawing complete patting the woman down, and she's behind her, and her fist is getting clenched and tighter because the cop's trying to provoke her because he knows there's something going on with her, and they do that a few times. Now, as the movie progresses, you figure out who she is, and they even do a great flashback that tells her story, how as a little girl she became this god, really. And that's a great scene too, because when she, this, it's a village where they pray at this temple, and some kids get into the temple. I'm not really telling the story that well, but I don't even want to. But they end up having to hide because the king wants to kill them, and she gets swarmed by bats and bit by bats, and this king comes in and kills everybody in the village. You got his parents, and she comes walking out of the cave, and you can tell something's wrong. Well, when her parents get killed, she turns into this fangs, and she's powerful, and she's beating up all the guys, and then it advances to where she is now. She's immortal. She can't be killed, although apparently she can be knocked out for a little while because that happened a few times too. Um, and then it's a dirty cop who I really like, played by Tovino, who ends up getting bit by her because he was going to kill, or he wounded Sunny, her love interest, although she can't really have a love interest. And he was a great bad guy. And the vampire stuff was, or the Yakshi stuff was pretty good. The way they showed it, it wasn't excessively violent. It really wasn't. Um, in fact, the blood stuff, like at one point, he gets a little blood on his finger after he turned, or he's starting to turn, and he just like that. Now all of a sudden, his eyes get, like Twilight. Their eyes get a little white. Um, and then it becomes good versus bad, and good versus bad vampires, or because it was explained that each Yakshi, when they turn, get a different kind of power. Because there's another cameo in here, and there was a bunch of cameos. Now, I don't really understand all the cameos because these were Malayalam cameos, but one of them I did know, and that was Mammoody played a character, and I can't remember. It was like Mutha or something like that. It was very similar to his own name. And Soban Shahir, who was in Man Jamal Boys and Cooley. But when I mean a cameo, he's watching the news about the story about someone guys getting killed by this yakshi, and that's all it is. No dialogue. And there was another one too. What the hell's his name? There's two big cameos, and I don't have the name. Where is it? Cameos, cameos, cameos. It was the guy who played Michael. Yeah, I want to get this right because he was actually now there was good and bad with his character. Um, the good was very funny. Let's see, Michael. Yeah, Mahmoudi played Muthon, and Michael. Where is Michael? I don't see his name here. Charlie. It's not sure. Oh, Dulkur Salman. No, he was the last guy. That was also a cameo too. Yeah, Dulkur Salman played a ninja at the end. Oh man, I don't see his name here. So I yeah, I don't have it. But he was great. He played like this magician. Very funny though. Now he ends up he comes in, makes this beautiful entrance, saves everybody, and then he's out of the picture. And they did that a lot with side characters. Like there's a older guy with his daughter who's on dialysis or something, and he's looking for Chandra. Well, nothing ever comes from that. Now I assume they're setting up the sequel. Um, so what I really loved about this film, they're trying to create a universe, just like Marvel does, and I think Thama did this too. They're trying to create this universe where things will be related. That's I think that's why all the big cameos, because they're going to play a part because they're referred to in this film, but they're never shown really. I think they'll play a bigger part in the second one. But the story, I gave the story a two, and I think the problem was I just saw Thama, and it really reminded me of Thama. So, not really an original story. Now, the universe that it was trying to create was different from Thama, and I did like that in her origin story, how she became this Yakshi. I liked, but the story was very similar. Again, that in no way is that a critique of the film. It's just it was too similar. Now, performances. I liked. It was weird because I liked Kalyani, but she was very one note and very stoic and serious. And I guess the characterization is based on how many, how long she's been doing this, how many loves in her life has she lost because she outlives them. So she's got a lot of a weight on her. So I guess that was the choice. Now the physical stuff she did, she was wonderful in it. I'm not a big. I got to be careful how I say this, but I'm not a big fan of the nose ring. I'm just not. I don't find it attractive. Now that might be a big thing, over there, but I just don't find that attractive. And she never takes the thing off. That's there the entire movie. But she was good. Now, could she anchor a franchise? I don't know about that because when that guy Michael showed up, he like stole the movie because he was his personality was so big. It was great. And Sonny, played by Naslen, he was good in this too. The humor came from the three guys, and they were funny, but there were moments that were serious. I mean, serious for this type of film, not super serious. People are getting shot left and right, and they survive okay, or stabbed in the back. And at one point, they used this gun, and I'm not really sure what was in the gun, but I don't even know. Was it a trank gun? Because they don't really explain it. And she's shooting at everybody with this, I think, a trank gun. And they shoot the big bad guy, and he passes out for a second. So I think that's what it was. But then there's a scene where the cops surround a bar that also has like a basement that's almost like a dungeon. And the cops all go in there, not all of them, and they all get killed. And then it's just over. Well, what about all the other cops that were surrounding it? Nothing happens with that. So that was kind of weird too. But again, the action, the climax of the film, I really liked. Now again, going back to the performances, so they were good. They weren't great. I mean, for this type of film, I was a three, adequate. Nobody really stood out. Michael stood out for me, that one character, but he was barely in it. And although I did like Kalyani, it was very one note. And in Thama, I thought the performances were actually a little better. Although I think I like this film more than I like Thama. Now, as far as music, there was no musical numbers. There was a lot of music, and there's one that plays all the time. It's actually the first song that she plays on her iPod. You know, she puts them in her ears. You hear it that way, and then all of a sudden it fills the screen. And it's Roots That Never Grow Old, and The Queen of the Night. She's the Queen of the Night, and that's something they play a lot. The next song, they show the boys, and they're drinking shots. They like to party, they like to dance, and it's the city. So it's showing their background too. Third song, they invite her to a party. She doesn't socialize for reasons, but she shows up at this party, and it's funny because Sonny's got the hots for it, right? Well, they end up sharing a cab, and because she hadn't had any blood, she looked not too good. So he's describing to his friends. He goes, "I don't think she's going to come to the party." And I don't think I wanted to because when I saw her up close, she looked a little dirty, and that's the word he used. Well, then the knock on the door, and she's there after getting the blood, and she looks beautiful, beautiful dress, her hair is done up nice, and their song that's playing is "Oh Bird, Sweet Little Bird." And then let's
Hello.
see.
എന്താ അവിടെ നിൽക്കുന്നത്?
And that was really it. Now, that's just like songs, but the background music, the incidental music was good. It fit this to a T when it needed to be a little funny because the guys were funny. When it needed to be a little scary is not the right word, but you know what I mean. I mean, it didn't hurt, didn't help. I gave the music a 3, but overall, my overall verdict on this, I really did like it, and it was 2.5 hours, but it went quickly. And I give the movie a 4. I really liked it. I understand why people like this film. And there was some CGI, but nothing. There was only a couple of stuff that looked like when she was jumping from really high, it looked a little animated almost. But everything else was good. You know, like when she moves fast, they have a little like echo of her with the red sash, so it looks like a cape. Um, so yeah, I really liked it. I'm trying to think anything else. Oh, the last cameo. So there's this cameo, and they no explanation. Some guys come into the bar where they had the big climactic fight, and they're brought down to this dungeon place to wait. Well, then whoever brought them down shuts the door. Now they're trapped down there. All of a sudden, this ninja comes walking in, and he takes them all out. And it's Dalker Salman. And right before he kills the last guy, the guy says, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Your nemesis." Now it sets up chapter 2. And like I said, I'm sure there were cameos in here that I didn't even catch because I don't know the Malayalam actors as well as I know the Bollywood actors. Um, but yeah, I there's also there's also organ harvesting worked into this and a few other things. I mean, some of the side stuff I don't think they needed, so they could have probably tightened up the length of the film a little bit. Although I didn't feel like it dragged. I really don't. I mean, I was into the film. Um, so, but they could have tightened it up. There was some things that did need to be in there. I really loved the flashback scene to where she became this Yakshi. But I would love to know if you guys saw it. This is one I would like to have seen in the movie theaters because it was beautifully shot. This director does a lot with neon, and it really because a lot of it's at night because she can't be out during the day. But it really added to the vibe of the film with the neon, and there was a lot of it, and the cinematography was great too. So yeah, big thumbs up for me. Again, if you saw it in the movie theater, let me know what you think, and if you saw it with a full audience, what was the reaction from the audience? Curious about that too. So in conclusion of that, let me go right into my vampire recommendation. Okay, so I am a big fan of the genre. Not all, because I think sometimes they get a little carried away with the violence. Now, I say that, And I am going to recommend a movie that's a vampire movie that's pretty violent. Look, I'm a big, the first Dracula. Although, you watch it now, it's very theatrical. It's based on a play, not based on the Bram Stoker novel, and it is very theatrical. But I will say this: if you ask someone to draw a vampire, they're going to draw Bela Lugosi. So to me, with all the vampire films that have been made since before the original Dracula, um, the fact that it's like Frankenstein. When you think of Frankenstein, you got Boris Karloff from the first film. When you think of Dracula, you think of the widow's peak. You think of the tuxedo, the red thing hanging down, the Hungarian accent. I do not drink wine. So, but I'm not going to recommend that. The film that I'm going to recommend that is a great modern vampire film is 1987's Near Dark. It was directed by Kathleen Bigelow, stars Bill Pullman, Lance Henriksen, Adrian Pasnar, Jenny Wright, and Jeanette Goldstein. And the film is about um, a group of vampires going through desert towns, and they now a lot of vampire films, they're cursed. Even in this film, she was cursed, right? Because she can't love. Her heart is her weakness, she said. These three characters love being a vampire. Actually, four characters love being vampires. They love it because they've got power. Yeah, they can't go out in sunlight. And they drive cars with everything blacked out. It's great the way they do it. A very modern telling. But the scene that really encapsulates the humor of the film and the violence of the film is when they go to a bar and they start interacting with the patrons, and it turns into a feeding frenzy.
Finger
And it
licking
is
good.
funny, scary,
Hey, Jess, I
and
got
a
smell
little
like a
gross.
dead polecat.
But it's a great scene. And Adrian Pasnar, they turn into. I'm not even going to tell you the story. It's great. And if you get a chance to see it, you're rooting for pretty evil vampires. And the three
This is a
leads
kid,
especially
ain't it?
look like they had a ball during this film. And I'm a big Bill Pullman fan from William Hudson. He was really good in this, very funny. He was the comic relief
Why
in
don't you
this
sit
film.
this one
But
down?
if you haven't seen it, now I'm telling you, it's violent. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, and I don't in a lot of films, I loved it in this film because it fit what they were trying to do with the film. But if you get a chance, check it out. It is really, really good. Okay, so that's my recommendation. All right, so that's it. So do me a favor as I ask every single show, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the notification button. What else do I want you to do? What I want you to do? It'll be this side. See that right there? That's right. Hit the like button, even if you don't like it. Just doesn't mean anything to you. It means a big difference to me on the channel. Okay? And even more importantly than all of that, share it. Because the only way I can really build the Maniac community is if you share it with people you think might like the content. And I'm really trying hard to put a lot of content out. Now you guys get demanding on me watching stuff. The problem is I actually have a real job, and if I'm out or I'm working on something, it's tough for me to keep because again, these movies are 2.5, 3.5 hours long. It's a big time commitment. Plus editing them. All right, I'm doing the best I can. So and I've got two more films that I'm going to be reviewing after Lokah, and they are. I just want to give you a little heads up. Boggy Four, and they call him OG. And I've got thoughts on both of those films, and it won't be my usual tongue bath of Indian cinema. That's all I'm going to say about my reviews for those two films. But you might want to tune in for those reviews, which will be coming after Lokah. Okay. I don't know when I put my glasses on. Okay. So that's it. Again, we'll talk to you soon on John Talks Indian Cinema with another 15 to 20ish minute review, a trailer reaction, a song reaction, cricket talk. I don't know. Could be anything. But as always, I appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to you soon.